Hi, I'm Eddie of Eddie's Reef Korea. Today's weekly video is simply going to be like a follow-up of how the tank's doing, the growth patterns and things that all of you should know what's going on with the tank. And plus, last week I got 2 new corals, so I'll show them off on this video. And then as people that follow me know, that then in the near future, then I go ahead and I do a research on the new acquisitions, what the coral's about, and like, the care tips and all that. So let's go into it, but before, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, hit the like button, and hit that notification bell. So let's check it out. Hold on. Okay, so the first coral that I'm gonna show today is one of the new additions. This is a Monty Digi. It's a red Digi, beautiful coral. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm just setting it on the substrate, on the sand, for this period of week, and then possibly this coming weekend I'm going to go ahead. I already know more or less where I'm going to place it, but I'll show you when I show like the other sections of the tank, more or less what I'm planning placing this coral. Now this coral, the plug, the stem hasn't been cut off, so I'm going to try now, moving forward, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to glue it. Of course, as all of you know, the procedures that I do, I go ahead and I use the 2-part epoxy, plus I use BSI, the regular glue. So I shouldn't have any problem. But this is the first coral that I thought I'd show you. There was a wide selection of them. And this is the one that had like different branches. I know you cannot appreciate it there, but on the bottom, on the plug down there, it actually has like also growth patterns. So it's very interesting to see how it actually does in this tank. Now the next coral I'm focused at it is Pavona. Now this is rare. I mean, in all the years that I've been in this hobby, I personally have never seen Pavona like a cream or a gold color, shall we call it. I actually saw the mother colony where this frag came from, and it's gorgeous. It's like a towering type, like if you can imagine like 2 or 3 fingers, thick fingers towering up in this color, beautiful. And then from there they fragged it, and this is the bigger frag that I actually purchased. But personally, I never have seen a Pavona discolored. Okay, and now here we're going to start with the updates. Now this one, this Monty Cap, it turns out to be that the species of it, I believe it's called Sunburst, is doing great. That white tips that you see around it is the actual growth. It's growing exponentially. I mean, incredible. I mean, I've had other Monty Caps of other colors, and I've also had them in red, but wow, this one is really taken off big time. And if you could appreciate on this side, like right there with my finger, okay, it's curving up. It's actually not an encrusting, of course, it's a plating coral. So it's happy where it's at, and it's doing great. Now right below it, I have the Ghani, green Ghani. I've had this for quite a while, and it's fantastic. If you follow me, you'll notice what I had mentioned before when I purchased it way back. I mean, I'm talking about quite a few months. I had placed it on the substrate, and it started to open, then it closed, and I don't know, it wasn't doing too well. So I moved it up here, I would say on the middle third of the tank, and between the lighting, what I feed, and the water current is doing great. It's doing fantastic. It has little polyps coming out on the side. And when it comes to the feeding regimen for these type of corals, well, you do have to feed them a lot when it comes to Ghani. But when it comes to me, what I'm feeding, well, on Mondays I feed the Phyto Feast, of course, for all the corals, but specifically this one really needs a lot of nutrition. Then on Wednesdays I feed Reefroids, and then on Fridays I feed Oyster Feast. And apparently that balance with another thing that I also modified is the water changes. I used to do a water change like every other week. Well, now I'm doing them every week, and I'm doing like a 10%. Now moving along and showing you the gorgonium is doing fantastic. As a matter of fact, on the side, on one of these feelers, shall we call it, or stems, there's little buds that are coming out and they're growing exponentially. And then today, I was kind of, because as you notice, this tank from here to the wall is like about 1.5 feet, so I'm not able to put the camera and actually you guys can see it. But on the bottom, I just happened to notice, on the where it's placed, because I went ahead and I glued it to a rubble, Pucani rock, to anchor it. Well, actually, from the bottom stem of the gorgonia, there's a little bud there. I saw two little sticks that are coming out. So it's very happy. It's doing great where it's at. It's got enough flow. It's not touching that wall of the tank, and it's growing. And going further down, I'm focusing on the lobo. This lobo, I've had it for quite a while. I would say I've had this lobo, I'd say for a good 4 or 4.5 years. It changed colors, because before it was like light orange, and now as you're noticing, it's like I don't know, like a dark brownish with lines. It was actually 2 heads. When I purchased it, it was 2 heads, but these two, okay, this that you see here, this was actually 1 head. It closed there. So now you have like 2, you have 1 there, and you can barely see it. There's not too much light on it, but down here there's another head. So that's doing phenomenal. Now here, moving to the side from the lobo, then you have, of course, the blasto. Now, I saw this past weekend blastos that are like pale color, like a cream color. I've never seen that before in my life. So I'm thinking of probably purchasing one of those heads. They have them by heads, and they're not that expensive, so I could put it around there somewhere, and then I will have like a little garden of blastos. So I would have a red one, of course, which this one, I don't know if you can appreciate it from this shot, but it's actually, the other head is more pronounced. It's becoming bigger and bigger, and there's other 2 more on the bottom. So I would have this red one, and then also I would have that beige one. And then down here, of course, the organ pipe organ. You know the story if you follow me. That was, it was like a golf ball shaped organ pipe organ, whatever you want to call it. And I thought it had died because it wouldn't open. So I take it out, and there was, the plug where was that, it actually cascaded. It started to grow into that rock that's there. So I said, well, guess what? Look, it started to grow and grow and grow, and there you have it. Matter of fact, now it's the same size, and it was like 2, 3 little polyps. Now it's the same size of the actual frag when I purchased it. Okay, now this Favia that I'm showing you, I got this way back. It was like a $5 frag at Worldwide Corals. And I had it on the middle section, or the middle quadrant of the tank. And it shot 1 head, then another head. But I decided to put it on the substrate. And now this one, I've had it also like for a while, for about like, I'd say like 3 or 4 years. And it's doing great. It keeps growing and growing. This, as you must be aware, these corals are a family of the brain corals. So it does take the configuration, as you notice, of an actual brain, like the other more common brain corals. And moving along, then of course the Duncan is happy, is doing great. I can't hardly wait to see another head starting to grow, but it takes a little while. But it's doing great. This coral, I also feeded the Reef Blizzard by Brightwell Aquatics, a pellet that I'll do tomorrow. Now down here, then of course you have the Photorocordia. It's up to 3 heads. From there you can probably see just 2 of them. 1, 2, and then the other one is on the back. And then on the middle, the Cephastria, it's a slow grower. I'm noticing now that it's starting to grow a little bit, like on the side, right down here, but it's a slow grower. And then, of course, you have the Ricordia humus. Those are doing great. The ones right down here. I mean, there's like 2 or 3. Well, the main one is actually this one. This is the one that I actually bought, which was on a plug, but it started to shoot other little babies. And it's again, people that follow me will know that I went ahead and I glued the plug into a rubble, a Pucani rock rubble that I had left. So it actually will cover the whole rock. And then when it does, I'll decide what to do, if I'm going to leave it there or move it to another area on the actual tank. And then, of course, here we have the rock anemone. It's doing great. It's doing happy. And this is another one that I also feed the Reef Blizzard, the little pellets, tomorrow also. Yeah, it hasn't moved. Although being an anemone, it does have the characteristics of any other of them, and they can actually, if they wanted to, if they weren't happy, they would actually move around. But no, it's fine. It likes it where it's at. And of course, here we have the Cineraria. It was a little plug, a little frag, and it's grown, I'd say, like 4 times. Now, during the day, I observed this coral a lot, and I've noticed that in reference to the current and the light and all that, it changes configuration. Like now, as you're noticing, is following the actual current of the MP10, which hits the right panel, then it goes back towards the left. But like during the day, you'll notice that it actually erects. It goes up higher, and like if it's touching almost the surface, and then it comes back to this configuration. Then during the day, another behavior of this coral is that it'll actually like shrink during the day. It'll become like half that size, and then it reopens again. So that might be actually a feeding process of the fauna found in the water. It actually, maybe it contracts, feeds, and then it opens up again. Okay, now here, I'm trying to focus so you guys can actually appreciate it, the 2 toadstools that I have. So the green one on the bottom, that's the Japanese toadstool. It's very rare and it's high in demand. Same thing with this one. It was a little, I would say a little less than half of the coral. And it's growing and growing and growing. Then the one on the top, it's like a brownish type toadstool. That one actually has double the size. It was a little, I mean, itsy wincy, like I'd say half of that. And it's actually grown. Those polyps on that brown one, they're actually more elongated. It's a larger polyps than the Japanese toadstool. That's one of its characteristics. And now I'm just going to angle the camera just a little bit. So I'm going to talk about the 2 SPS. Hold on. And now here we are at the upper 3rd quadrant of the actual tank. So now what you're observing now is the 2 SPS sticks that I got. I don't know the names. When it comes to these, you know, I'm not very familiar when it comes to the acros. But these 2 are very hardy. They're not as delicate as other higher end acroporas, where any change in temperature or DKH, you'll have an issue. This one is, both are doing great. The newest one is this one here. This one right there, that's the newest one. The other one back here, right up here, I've had that for quite a while, and it's doing great. It's actually grown. I can see some branches coming out from the front part of the coral. Is doing fantastic. This one, the most recent one, right down here, you can probably see it. There's like a little butt that's coming out. So they are doing great, and of course they appreciate my feeding regimen, you know, with a Phyto Feast on Mondays, then Reef Freud, as I mentioned before, Wednesday, and then Friday, the Oyster Feast. And then now here I have Ensenada. that I bought way back. Two-header is very rare. I was told over at Worldwide Corals that out of 400 enchinadas, this one would come out this actual color. It's there, but it's not. It doesn't show that much of a growth pattern. The other one, which was a rainbow color, I had to bring it down. It's on the substrate because it started to contract. And upon research, I've noticed that these corals, when it comes to acans, because this is also of the family of the acan, I found out that if they receive too much light and they don't like it, they'll contract, they'll close. So although these corals, you can acclimate them to higher lights, but I mean, this one is, this is on the middle quadrant of the tank, and it's doing fine, but the other one, for whatever reason, it was a little lower than this one, and I noticed that it started to kind of like close. So I've put it all the way on the sand and see what actually happens. So now I'm going to take you all the way to the far left, like right over here, and well, you really can't, right there, and I'm going to talk a little about that Monty. Hold on. Okay, now this one here, right over there, right on top of the Monty cap, that one is a Monty Digi also. When I bought it, it was like a yellowish bronze color. But here in the tank, it probably has to do with the lighting or feeding, I guess, but it's actually turned like a whitish or a light cream color. It's not dying, it's doing great. As a matter of fact, there's a little growth on the side, but it actually changed colors. And that's something that I thought, as I'm shooting this video, I talk about. When it comes to certain corals, especially Montes and up to SPS, sometimes you see them at the LFS and they're beautiful and all that, but because of, you know, when you bring them home, of course, it's a different environment, different lighting, different salt, and some of these will tend to brown up. And here we have the Zeus. These are the only ones that I have. I'm really not into Zeus. I might get maybe another species or two to give it another effect, different varieties of colors, but I'm really not into them. But I thought I'd bring it up. Same thing, it was like 4 little polyps. I would say about 3 or 4 years, and look at it now, and it keeps growing and growing. And now back there, I really couldn't get a close-up shot, and you really can't see it too well because of the gorgonian in front. But those cloth polyps, they're growing all over the place. Same thing, it was like 4 little polyps, and it's doing, I mean, they're growing exponentially. At nights, they go ahead, when the light goes down, they go ahead, they close, and they like retract into their tubes. And then in the morning, immediately, they start to open, and if I get close to it, you actually see the different shoots that are coming out. But that, again, was nothing. It was like 4 little polyps. It was doing fine. And the final coral is this Fabia. It was a $5 frag, 1 little polyp, and it started to grow. I didn't have it on that section. I had it on the right side of the tank. But as people that follow me, you might be aware, I've talked about this. And other creators, other YouTubers that have reef tanks, they also talk about it. I move corals around in reference to what I see, their behavior. If they're happy or not, I'll move them around. But this one, I've glued it there, and it's doing great. It's growing and growing, so I've left it alone. It's doing fine there. Well, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed the video, found it interesting, educational, and fun. If you did, hit the like button and subscribe to my channel, and hit that little notification bell. And like I say at the end of all of my videos, happy reefing, thanks for watching, and until next time, bye-bye.